It's May 26, 1985. Danny Sullivan is charging down Mario Andretti on the 120th lap of the Indy 500. Over 400,000 spectators watch on as Andretti finishes one of his 107 lead laps on the day. But as he attempts to lead another, Sullivan has other ideas. On any given Indy 500, lead changes are exciting, but they are a routine part of the sport. When Sullivan attempts to pass Andretti on lap 120, the result was anything but routine. But who is Danny Sullivan, and who is Mario Andretti? Why does any of this matter? Sullivan's pass attempt on lap 120, as well as the entire 69th running of the Indianapolis 500, deserves a deep rewind.
To me, the big question is the Buicks.
They had a fire back at AJ's car.
That Andretti jinx.
Mario Andretti in the red car, number 3, Danny Sullivan.
The Indianapolis 500-mile race, the once-a-year 800 left-turn spectacle. Indy practically has the attention of the world for one whole day every year, and in 1985, it filled that day with drama and excitement. One of the more intriguing storylines going into the race was the emergence of the Buick V6 engine.
To me, the big question is the Buicks in the front row. And here's the real change. 2 stock block engines that have been the fastest qualifiers for this race in the hands of Pancho Carter and Scott Brayton.
That's Sam Posey. The only reason I mention his name now is because some of his comments thicken the plot later.
What's going to happen? It's an imponderable at this point. They may not last the race. Nobody really knows.
That did not stop them from being the fastest engines in qualifying. In the 33-car field, only 2 drivers ran with the V6, Pancho Carter and Scott Brayton. Carter and Brayton both used the V6 to qualify with speeds well north of 210 miles per hour. Brayton's best start in the 500 came a year previously in 1984, when he started 26th. Now, using the V6, he was able to qualify second. Veteran IndyCar driver and 1974 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year Pancho Carter won the pole position in his V6, with a record-breaking speed of 212.583 miles per hour. But no matter how fast Carter or Brayton qualified, doubts about the V6 would remain until it could run 200 laps. And if we take a look back at lap 120, Carter and Brayton are nowhere to be seen. For Carter, the race lasted a little longer than a qualifying run.
There is Dwayne Pancho Carter, who sat on the pole in this race, coming into the pits for a very unscheduled pit stop. People had wondered if the Buicks could last the race, but my goodness, it's only a few laps, and there he is.
And after 6 laps, he was done. By lap 19, Brayton would also bow out of the race due to engine trouble. 47.5 miles into the 500-mile race, the V6, and all the speed it brought with it, was gone. Some of the greatest drivers to ever race the Yard of Bricks were in the 1985 500. The race was essentially a greatest hits album for the 500, with 6 former winners in the field. In the 109 years of the Indy 500, only 3 drivers have ever won the race 4 times. All 3 drivers were in the 1985 race. Al Unser Sr. led the pack of 4-timers on the inside of row 3, with Rick Mears starting just behind him on the inside of row 4. AJ Foyt rounded out the trio all the way back on the outside of row 7. AJ Foyt had already won his 4th race in 1977. Al Unser Sr. was 6 years removed from his 3rd victory, and Rick Mears won just his 2nd Indy 500 in 1984. Other legends in the race included future team owner Chip Ganassi, 3-time Indy 500 winner Johnny Rutherford, future winners Arie Luyendyk and Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, and of course, Mario Andretti. Now, if you don't know who any of those people are, that's okay, because the only name that matters is the last one. The Andretti name has become synonymous with the 500, and that's largely due to the fact that for 54 years, an Andretti has been in the 500, from Mario's first start in 1966 to his grandson Marco's in 2020. Across all those years, the Andrettis have enjoyed many racing successes, but have managed to win the Indy 500 just one time. This is often referred to as the Andretti curse. In 1985, it seemed like Mario was destined to break that curse. He had won half of the races leading up to the 500, so momentum was certainly on his side. But to win the 500, a driver needs a lot more than momentum. They need a lot of luck. And for most of his career, luck had not been on Mario's side.
Look at his record since he won the race in 1969, and you see accident, out of fuel, burned piston, valve, accident, broken header, engine. accident, accident.
A kind of litany of fiasco and the things that can go wrong.
In '85, luck was largely on Andretti's side. Within 19 laps, the pole sitter and number 2 starter were gone. And when Bobby Rahal exited after 84 laps, all 3 starters in front of Andretti were out of the race. By that time, he had already led 58 laps, and had even spent a couple of those laps with a plastic bag stuck to his car.
There's a close-up of it. If it went back into the duct, if it flew off the nose and went back into the duct, there's a radiator back in there, that it could block, partially at least, the airflow over the radiator. That would be typical Andretti racing luck at Indianapolis.
This incidentally led to one of the greatest bits of sports announcing you'll ever see.
They have removed that. In fact, Jim Lampley is down in the pits. I think he has the villain with him.
I'm holding in my hand the polyurethane bag which rode with Mario Andretti in car number 3 for all those miles. Nothing more nor less than a piece of garbage from the track. A great way to shop, a great way to save, it says. Mario Andretti may have saved himself a lot of time and trouble by letting it ride instead of stopping to get it off.
Look at that smirk. He knows what he just did. After 100 laps, Andretti had led 76. But Andretti was not the only one running a strong race. Danny Sullivan, in his 3rd ever race at Indianapolis, was running a strong race a couple of positions behind Andretti. A former cab driver turned Formula 1 driver, Sullivan was looking to make a name for himself at the 500. In the weeks leading up to the race, Sullivan had driven around 1,500 miles in practice, the most of any driver by far. And as the race wore on, Sullivan was able to keep pace with the leaders. But still, Andretti's dominant race overshadowed everything. So much so that at the 100-lap mark, Sullivan was unceremoniously announced in 4th, but Sullivan was silently creeping up on the leaderboard. After a quick pit stop, Sullivan suddenly found himself in 2nd place, staring down Andretti. Remember what I said earlier about Sam Posey? Well, after Sullivan took 2nd place, he said this about Andretti.
At the halfway mark, the entire first row, of course, is gone. The 2 Buicks and Bobby Rahal.
Yeah, it's almost an odd sort of 10 little Indians thing. All of the people that could have threatened Mario have started to fall by the wayside.
Oh, you did not just say that. Please tell me he did not just say that. Almost on cue, Sullivan was gunning for 1st. Earlier in the race, Sam Posey had a chance to interview Sullivan while he was in the car. Posey asked Sullivan how he was feeling about the handling of the car.
Danny, there was so much talk before the race about the turbulence. You've been running in heavy traffic. Has turbulence been a problem for you?
Yeah, Sam, it has. There's quite a bit of turbulence around the head, so you get a lot of buffeting, but also it affects the handling of the car. But we're just making little adjustments to adapt for it.
And oh boy, did he have to make some adjustments. Sullivan had been behind cars all day, and by lap 120, he decided he had dealt with enough. The failure of the V6, unlucky brakes for many of Indy's greatest drivers, a plastic bag, 1,500 practice miles, and a whole lot of luck all led to this. Welcome to a moment in history.
And that lead is dwindling by the second. Scoreboard showing it a half a second, but it certainly isn't. It's nothing now. Danny Sullivan going down low. Can he make the move? Sullivan down low. Side by side, Sullivan has the lead. Danny Sullivan, Kentucky, and just at that moment, losing control of the car, doing a magnificent job of not hitting the wall and continuing in the race. It's unbelievable.
But wait, Sullivan's still in 2nd. This is called the Spin and Win 500, not the Spin and Lose. Fortunately for Sullivan, his spin caused a caution flag, which allowed him to retain his 2nd place. After another quick pit stop, Sullivan cruised behind Mario Andretti for 20 more laps, before eventually passing him on lap 140. Sullivan then went on to lead the last 60 laps, and the rest is history. Thank you guys so much for watching this. If you don't know, this style of video is heavily inspired by Secret Base. I'm a huge fan of those guys. Please go check them out. And if you want to stick around, I have a couple other videos on the screen, but thank you. Thank you so much for watching.